Man, what a week.
Hey, what's going on, Miles? What's happening, dude? What's going on?
It's Friday, Bryan, and we're just days away from the PlayStation Showcase.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah. How do you, so we're talking on Wednesday how Wes gets all the good news days and AJ gets the shaft. Where do you feel like you fall in the spectrum? Do you get do you get shafted too? Is it?
I just get I get the yummy leftovers. The yummy leftovers, you know, because everyone always leaves the really good stuff, right? They have a meal, they eat the stuff that's like mediocre, just so that whoever comes late can just have all the best stuff.
Prolonged gratification, right? It's like
that's what I tell myself when I cry to sleep.
Right.
Every Friday.
Whenever I have a pizza, when it first gets delivered and it's hot and fresh, I eat all the crust, and then I hope I'm still hungry later so that I can have some leftover cheese and pepperoni.
There we go. That's the spirit.
What a dumb fucking start to our show. Dude, let's get started, man. We got a lot of stuff to talk about.
We literally did what we talked about just now. We're leaving them with all the good stuff after the intro.
Yeah, that's let's do this. This is PSVR GamesCast Live. We film live every single Monday, Wednesday, and Two Eyes Friday right here on PSVR Pro. We do it live for your viewing pleasure right here on YouTube. If you like to listen with your ears, I always screw that up, then make sure you check us out on podcast services of your choice. That's right, Spotify and all other podcast services whose names I've never even heard of before, but there's a shit ton of them, and we're on all of them. Hopefully our good friend Jay Meow has been keeping up to date. If not, give him some time. He's only human, and he should have all those MP3s up to date soon. My name is Bryan Powell from this channel right here, PSVR Parole, and over here to my right, on the other side of the pond, it's Myles Dyer from YouTube.com/Myles.
Hey, Bryan. Hey, Game Cats. It's good to see all of you here. I'm feeling really good about today's episode, Bryan. Really good about today's episode.
For any good reason or just randomly?
Good reason. No pressure, but last weekend my Let's Play was Walkabout Golf, which is a fantastic game, so it was always going to be a good time. But I got to do that with Edward, one of the devs, and we actually played one of the maps that he'd actually designed, and it was one of the best things I've ever done, like talking to a developer inside their game, and just lots of really interesting insights of what it is to make something that we think, you know, it's just a mini golf game. I mean, obviously we don't think it's easy, but hearing the intricacies in that, it was great. And then I got to play with some Game Cats afterwards. So I think it was actually probably one of the best Let's Play streams I've done so far. And then on Wednesday, I had Ash Millman from PlayStation Access come on my Myles Dyer live show. It was really, really good. Really good time. I've got her being up for playing with me Exorcist, Legion, Sin, Safety in Numbers, whenever that comes out. She's agreed to hold my virtual hand as I'm crying in VR later down the line. But no, I mean, huge thanks to everyone who showed up. Lots of people are still watching it now. It had a really good horror quiz at the end. And yeah, for me, it's like without doubt the best Myles Dyer live episode to date. So 2 best ofs. Could this very well be my favourite ever GamesCast live on a Friday? The pattern says yes, Bryan. So let's make it happen.
Yeah, I'll try not
pressure.
I'll try not to screw that up for you. So yeah, if all that sounds good, make sure you click the link in the description below and go subscribe to Myles over at youtube.com/Myles. I think you buried the lead here, Myles. When you and Edward played Walkabout Mini Golf, like, did he pretend like he was bad at mini golf so that you wouldn't walk away feeling all sad about your score?
Well, if he did, he still beat me, Bryan. So I'd rather not think about that.
Yeah. So he took it easy on you, and he still crushed you.
But to be fair, he was playing 6 o'clock in the morning his time because he's based in Melbourne. A lot of the team are based in Texas, and yeah, I mean, to be honest, it was one of those. It was a typical golf course where it was the first time I played it. I was glad I got to play a fresh one, and I was under par pretty much all of it. And it's just that one hole that you just mess up, and you get more frustrated, and you should have just played it safe. And instead, you're like, no, I'm definitely going to get that shot that I've been trying to go for. And I maxed out the number of hits, which I think is 8 by default, and that was the thing that totally screwed me over.
Yeah, I think it's three over par, I think, is when you stroke out.
Is that what it is? Yeah. It's based on the par. That would make sense, yeah. But then it was really cool playing with GameCats afterwards, just the first 9 holes on the very first level. And there were some people tuning in that had only just learnt the game, like they were learning it on a live stream, which was brave. But yeah, no, it was really good. So I highly recommend people check it out. And then my Let's Play for this weekend is tomorrow. At 4 p.m. Eastern, and that's going to be Red Matter 2, of course, because what a beautiful game that is to show everyone, right?
I know you're starting that from. I will
be starting it from the very beginning.
Okay.
So yeah, although I have played some, I think it's good that I kind of get the controls and that can go at a decent pace.
Yeah.
But yeah, the thing with my Let's Plays for everyone except Walkabout Golf, because obviously that's where you just play whatever levels. I always play them from the beginning, just so if you want to kind of just only watch 5 minutes, I'm totally cool with that. You watch 5 minutes, you go, right, now I want to go and get it and play it for myself. Actually, someone tweeted me saying, as much as I'd like your live show to do well, Myles, I'd rather no one watch this stream and just got the VR game themselves and experienced it. And I totally respect that. But the reason I do my Let's Plays is to kind of help people get over the line if there's a game they're considering getting, and just want a bit more reassurance. So yeah, really looking forward to that.
Oh, yeah, we did Walkabout Mini Golf for our Sunday multiplayer meetup organized by Professor Lilith this past Sunday. Man, yeah. what a resounding success. All the cats out there picked up Walkabout, and everybody seems to be loving it, man. It's like there's just like so many groups of people playing it simultaneously over the course of hours. And so just a good reminder, you guys, if you want to get in and play on these Sunday multiplayer meetups, just click the link in the description below. Join us over on Discord. That is where everything gets organized. Room codes happen, everything happens, and there's a channel specifically for that. And this Sunday, Myles, I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but we are holding the keys to the kingdom at the moment, because this Sunday's multiplayer meetup is going to be Honor and Duty D-Day Enhanced. D-Day Enhanced, and that game's not out yet. But
no, it's not.
But it is in beta, and over the course of the next week, it's going to go from a very quiet, very closed beta to a private beta to a full public beta. And so, if you want in on that, you got to come join our Discord. And then there's an Honor and Duty D-Day Enhanced beta channel, and that's where you want to be in order to get your keys. Now, the deal is, the reason we're making it a Sunday multiplayer meetup game is because it's a beta, right? And we want everybody to get in there. We want to stress test the servers. We want to make sure that we are giving valuable feedback to Reggie over at Strange Games, right? We don't want to just be like, oh, we're just giving this shit away, right? We want to make sure we're actually giving him valuable feedback. So that's why we're trying to like corral everybody into that same Sunday 2 p.m. Eastern time frame to get as many people playing. Guys, if you don't know, D-Day Enhanced is a 64-player game. It's going to be one of the biggest multiplayer games we've ever had in VR. So it's going to be fucking awesome. So
super excited for it. And some people had already mentioned in the chat that my hair is even more of a mess than usual, and it's because just before coming on air, I was actually playing with Reggie in D-Day, just having a mess around, and it's really, really good fun. And it was only a handful of us playing, so when it's actually the full multiplayer with tens of people, it's going to be fantastic. But I was in the trap, Bryan, of okay, I've got time for one more game, and then I should probably get ready. Mm-hmm. And then I'm like, how long have I got left? I probably could squeeze one more in. I think I said that 4 times. Yeah. And then I just rushed upstairs. It's a really, really good time. And I actually never played it on PSVR. So it was my first time experiencing it at all. And I've always heard really good things about it. And it's just going to be wonderful to experience it with lots of GameScast on Sunday. So yeah, do go on Discord and get the details and join us.
Oh yeah, there's and I got to say, man, I don't know how you felt about it. Like, obviously, you know, we don't want to really talk about any of the bad stuff yet, because you know that's what these early days are for, is to work out all that stuff before release. For the most part, man, I'm really happy with this. Like, it's you know, it's got an upgraded visuals over the PSVR1 game. What I'm seeing when I get in there is just, I can see clear from one side of the map to the other. There's an infinite draw distance, and it is crystal clear from where you're standing all the way to the end. Like, it is just crazy how much is on the screen all at once. Still a very simplified art style, but at least, you know, textures have been added and everything just looks a little bit more rounded and kind of smoothed out. I mean, he's added manual reloading. So, dude, I mean, I think this is just gonna be pure chaos when this game hits on PSVR2. Because again, I mean, just imagine a 64-player free-for-all, right? Never mind the team battles, never mind the capture the flag modes. It's just gonna. This is where we're gonna go, not for strategic, team-based combat, just for fucking the biggest meetups we could possibly have in pure fucking chaos. I think it's gonna be a blast. I was playing with 10 people and we had a blast. 64 is gonna be insane.
And I actually heard a very familiar voice in the game, Bryan.
Did you?
Yeah, sounded a lot like you.
Oh, okay. When I was in there, my voices weren't in there. In the enhanced version. But yeah, man, like the sound. Yeah, there's definitely.
You sounded good, man.
Definitely some classic Bryan Paul quotes in there.
Love it.
Like, where's my pizza? I'm hungry.
Like, not turning up in a box or something.
I don't know. Who listens when I talk?
It wasn't a pizza box. It was like what's those boxes that people get put in when they're killed? It's not a pizza box. It's don't know, some other box. Answers in the chat. Sorry, Bryan. Continue with the tip.
Not even totally sure what we're talking about anymore. Anyway, make sure you join our Discord. Lots of reasons to do that. And just one more before we fucking move on. Purple Unicorn Ga. Purple Unicorn Ga. I'm not sure if that's how Ga. Anyway, is organizing some stuff over in our weight loss challenge channel. And so this message comes from Purple Unicorn Ga. Working out is more fun than ever. Nope, that's not right. Working out is more fun together. It rhymed. Join the GameCats active lobby as we highlight a different flow-friendly PSVR2 game each week with various meeting times to fit your schedule. Starting Monday, May 22nd through August 10th, every time you play, you're entered to win a $25 PSN gift card to be drawn at the end of the season. Details are available on Discord in the Weight Loss Challenge channel and open to everyone, no matter your fitness level. Drop in when you can, and let's get active. So if you're like me and you've realized that you put on a ridiculous amount of weight over the last few years, then this is the place to come hang out. They're going to be playing like Les Mills Body Challenge and Synth Riders and, you know, all sorts of different fitness games. It's like, hey man, let's play some VR and let's drop a few pounds together. And a $25 gift card is a good incentive to do so. So just a good reminder. We also have viewer takeover channels over there. Dude, this is just the Discord episode, right? This is the Discord episode because on almost every GamesCast, we talk about viewer takeover questions, basically questions that submitted by you guys, the GameCats, and you can do that on our Discord on the viewer takeover channel. Leave your messages there, just like Primal Sage did. So we're finally starting the show. This is nice. Primal Sage writes, on Wednesday's show, you said Beat Saber was likely to be a shadow drop in the showcase. Here's my theory. It won't be, because Beat Saber isn't coming to PSVR2 at all.
No, I disagree with that.
Instead,
it's been announced.
Instead, we'll get Beat Saber 2, and it'll be free for Beat Saber 1 owners. And it won't be unveiled until the Quest showcase, because it's a Quest 3 launch title in October. Thoughts?
I mean, I agree with it won't be fully announced until the meta showcase. Mm-hmm. I do think that it is going to be a massive upgrade of some progression system. I mean, I think it was 2 meta showcases ago that they showed the teaser with the cosmetic sword, and it said saying level up. Yaroslav, who was the founder of Beat Saber, actually resigned yesterday, I think it was. He's stepping down after 6 years. He's just moving on to work on new projects and that. It's interesting that it's happening now. I kind of feel like there's clearly some things being prepared for the next phase of Beat Saber. I don't think it's going to be a Beat Saber 2. Why have Beat Saber 2 when you can just keep building on Beat Saber? And I always think about the days of Destiny when their deal with Activision meant they had to make a Destiny 2. But they always wanted Destiny to be this 10-year project. And so in the end, they actually took the missions from Destiny to Destiny 2. And you've always got this sense that Bungie wish they never had to have made a sequel. Just keep it as Destiny. And so, yeah, with Beat Saber, there's not going to be a Beat Saber 2. I think it's going to be a big. It's not just going to be new music. I think there is a big update coming, which I'm very excited about. What about you, Brian?
I mean, I feel the exact same way. I have a hard time thinking about there being a Beat Saber sequel because what good does that do anybody, right? Then if you've got a Beat Saber 2, then you have to recapture the millions of people who fell in love with Beat Saber to begin with, who already purchased Beat Saber. The money you're making on Beat Saber right now or the money that Beat Games is making on Beat Saber right now, certainly isn't coming from sales of the original game. It's coming from the hundreds of dollars that people are spending on DLC, right? So why even bother trying to recapture a market that you already have, an audience that you already have? You've got these people in with Beat Saber 1. And I 100% think that's why it won't be a paid upgrade for PSVR 2, because they are way more concerned about all the people who already bought the game buying DLC after DLC after DLC, all the future DLC, the hundreds of more dollars you can spend on this thing, and if you suddenly say, hey, it's a $10 upgrade fee, or it's you have to pay $30 all over again, for an upgrade, or even for a Beat Saber 2, there's a million people out there who said, no thanks, I've had my fill, it's time to move on. But if you suddenly say, hey, Brian, we've upgraded you for free to PlayStation VR2, the new version of Beat Saber, and guess what, there's a My Chemical Romance pack coming out, I'd be like, take my money. 100%. Right. You've done it.
And they're already expanding on the packs, aren't they? Because they keep on it. I don't actually know how they've done it, because obviously I think it's only been happening since PSVR2's come out, so I've not gone back on Beat Saber. But like Imagine Dragons, they did it. Did they do it with Fallout Boy? But they've added
Panic at the Disco.
tracks.
I think they added more tracks too. Was
was
that right? I don't know, man. It's been a while.
I think they've done it with 2 at the moment. Yeah, and they've upgraded old tracks with like the new systems, which is great. So could someone tell me in the chat? I'm just curious to know, like, how does that work? Does it mean that if you've got the DLC, you just get the option to buy the additional singles?
Yes.
I'm guessing. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, it's cool. But yeah, I just 2 things I'm very confident about. One is there will be some mention of it during the PlayStation Showcase, and I am pretty sure, because I keep banging on about it after each state of play and being wrong about it, and I think they would save it for a showcase, is the next Beat Saber announcement. It's not just going to be about it's coming to PSVR 2. I think it's all been about waiting for this next phase of the game, and it's the progression system. It's coming, and when that happens, my goodness, I'm just thinking about how much I'm going to be playing this game again, and I can't believe how many months it's been since I last played Beat Saber.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Since this is the last Myles show, the last Myles specific show before the showcase. Since I've got you here, and it's just you and me one-on-one, and no one else is even paying attention. Do you have any wild predictions as far as the showcase is concerned? Like, I mean, like I think there's a bunch of things that we could call obvious, a bunch of things that are maybe not guaranteed, but everyone sort of is agreeing on, right? But like, do you just have any like really out there wild predictions?
Man, it's really, really difficult because, well, I find that Sony are really conservative when it comes to state of plays and that, but I think showcases when they really do throw some big surprises. I do think there's going to be a new AstroBot game announced at this showcase. I think AstroBot is going to appear in some state or form. I liked what you were talking about on Wednesday with Wes about, because of the sort of potential people feeling a bit like isolated if they don't care about VR. If you do segments going, here are just VR games, what's the best way of combating that? It's actually showing all these new games, then going, and they will be available on PSVR 2. Is what you said would make you really excited.
Yeah.
I think that would be amazing. Even though the topic we're talking about today, I'm very excited of the idea of a Spider-Man VR game. I've always felt that Marvel's Wolverine is more likely to be a VR game just because in its nature, it seems like it just feels like much more of a suitable game for it. But I do think Insomniac, I think we're going to see some of their first parties really stepping up into VR. And I do think that we will hear about Half-Life Alyx. If it's ever going to come out, this is when it's going to be announced. Because if it's not announced now, I can't imagine it really being thrown away in a state of play. This is something they could mention. It's going to, it's coming later in the year. I mean, PlayStation showcases are always about for the next year. And I feel like if Half-Life Alyx was ever going to be coming out, it'd be at the very latest the holidays of this year, right? I think if it's not out by then, forget it. There's no plans to bring it out. Although I could be mistaken. But I think about the big titles that I've mentioned before, the three. Fortnite, which obviously has been written off by Tim Sweeney on Twitter, unless he's been kept in the dark by his own company. GTA Online VR, I still think, because there's all this hype about GTA 6, which, to be honest, Rockstar will always sort of do it on their own terms, at their own thing, because it's such a big IP. But having a VR game of GTA Online VR would be epic, and would be the second time that Sony has really taken Meta to task, because if you remember, Meta did the announcement of Resident Evil 4 VR, and then PlayStation have come out and then said, oh, we're remaking Resident Evil 4 and it's gonna and PSVR2 content is in development. So GTA Online VR could be way, because Meta have said San Andreas is coming to VR on their platform. And then something from Bungie, Destiny VR, Destiny 2 VR. But I don't know. Those are sort of my boldest reaching predictions. But AstroBot, do you think AstroBot's going to appear, Bryan?
I mean, AstroBot's a tough one, right? Because I think Astro will have a showing of some kind or another. I don't know exactly what that another could be. I feel like we need an AstroBot's Rescue Mission 2. But at the same time, I do think that Sony is trying to make AstroBot the PlayStation mascot, and I don't think you do that by making him by giving him another PlayStation VR exclusive game, right? Because everyone fell in love with Astro when he was showing off the DualSense controller, right? All the people who didn't have PSVR 1 finally get to say, "Oh, this Astro character is really cute," and like, look at what he's doing, and blah blah blah, whatever. I think we could get a phenomenal AstroBot Rescue Mission 2 that was a hybrid game, playable in both, right? And that like hopefully the same type of gameplay features, because I remember everyone saying, "Oh, AstroBot Rescue Mission just couldn't be done outside of VR." I was like, that's absolutely not true, right? Absolutely not true. There are workarounds for literally everything, and if they find a way to develop this for both, I think we could see a really phenomenal game that would convince a lot of people to say, well, how does this play in VR? What does this look like in VR? And so I do think we'll see Astro, but I don't think it'll be an exclusive title for either flat screen or VR. I don't think so, at least.
Yeah. And there's some murmurings in the chat about this, which is the idea of like any sort of more PSVR games that are going to come to PSVR2. Like there's a lot of games we think about that we wish had transitioned over. There might be a lot of devs that have seen the launch and gone, okay, we're past the noisy opening of PSVR2 where there was so many games coming out. They're like, actually, now's the time to do it. So, there could be an AstroBot Rescue Mission. I mean, if that came back out for PSVR 2, I'd be very happy to play it again.
Oh, sure.
Because
absolutely.
It's a brilliant game. So, yeah. I think what I like about the showcase is there's a lot of games that we know are going to be announced or shown, like Spider-Man 2 is pretty much we're gonna start seeing it. But the thing is, there's a lot of games that are just new IPs that we've never heard of before that are going to be announced, which are going to be absolutely mind-blowing. And I think that's the really exciting part. I don't know. I think about this a lot, Bryan. It's really weird when you think of like massive IPs, whether it's like Uncharted or Ratchet and Clank or the Spider-Man games or Last of Us. there was trying to take yourself back to when they were first announced as brand new IPs, because when there's brand new IPs, it's this sense of like, you know, naturally you're drawn to familiarity, you know, stuff that you're used to. And when you see new stuff, you're like, okay, this is cool, but where's it going to go? And then a lot of these just become some of the biggest IPs in the world. And it's kind of, I just find it quite fascinating to think about that we're about to witness brand new IPs that we'll look at and go, that looks kind of cool. But in 5-10 years' time, they could be ranked some of the biggest, most popular IPs of all time.
Yeah.
And Sony's always been very good at that. You know, when we look at the comparisons between acquisitions between Xbox and Sony has always been about nurturing. You know, and it's not to say Xbox doesn't do some of that, but Sony has definitely mastered it. Like, there's a really interesting way that they do acquisitions. But I want to see what Firesprite are working on. I want to see what their next big game is.
Yeah.
So much. And we're getting over an hour on Showcase, which is amazing as well. So there's going to be plenty of content.
Yeah, it's definitely time for PSVR1 remasters to make an appearance. It's definitely time for these studios who have PSVR1 games to get their games over to PSVR2, and it is still happening. It is, you know, we just got Transformers last week. I just got a key today for Cave Digger 1. Right, Cave Digger 2 came out on both platforms. Cave Digger 1 is coming out on PSVR2 soon. I think that's June 1st, if I get my dates right.
Wow.
You know, dude, I mean, stupid things like Brain Beats, a horrible Beat Saber ripoff. That's coming out on PSVR2. Human Anatomy, which is literally a textbook with just 3D models of that. That was a PSVR1 game. Not a game. I shouldn't even call it a game. PSVR1 app, PSVR1 textbook, now on PSVR2. So even these things that, like, you're just like, how are these studios still around? Like, why do these things even exist? These games are making it over to PSVR2. So the fact is, you know, there's, I think there's a lot of hype for PSVR2, and I think a lot of studios who have their games over on PSVR1 will be bringing their games to PSVR2 soon, and hopefully Sony will be talking about that too. Because people keep asking me about these things, like Resident Evil 7, right? Which is obviously not a first-party Sony game.
Right.
It's a game that was paid for by Sony. Like, it's still exclusive all these years later. It was $5 million paid to Capcom to make Resident Evil 7, give Resident Evil 7 a VR mode, PSVR 1. I feel like the ball is in Sony's court again to be like, let's get this game over to PSVR 2, right? And as I mentioned I think on Wednesday's show, Sony paid to make Song in the Smoke Remastered happen, or Song in the Smoke Rekindled happen. And that's not even their game, right? And so if Sony cares that much to get a third-party game over to PSVR 2 with enhancements and whatever, then think about how much they care about their own studio's stuff. Think about how much they want to get their own stuff across. I think, dude, if we don't see this in a sizzle reel, we will hear. It's going to be a blog post soon after. It is time, man. It is time for the dam to break. It's time for the floods to start. It is just time to hear about everything. PlayStation VR2s are available on Amazon. They are available at GameStop. You can just walk into a store and buy one now. PlayStation 5s are finally available everywhere. Like, this is the time that Sony's been waiting for to really start their marketing, to really start their push. And that's why we haven't seen a Sony showcase all this time. And how the showcase is finally happening, and it's time, dude. Over an hour. You know how Sony showcases work, right? They don't fuck around. They don't come out on stage anymore like they used to, right? Remember the old E3 presentations, like the old ones, where they used to come out and there'd be PowerPoints and shit, and some guy on stage would be like showing pie charts.
Yeah,
you know, like just like things that no one cared about.
Do you think we'll get some pie charts this time?
Yeah,
I think that's why they've extended it.
I'm hoping bar graphs, maybe some Venn diagrams. Right?
Yeah.
But they don't do that anymore.
All these charts will be available afterwards in VR.
They don't do that anymore. What they do now is just so game after game after game after game, and that's what they learned during the PS3 era. Is that like their slogan then was for the gamers, right? They changed the way they looked at everything, and so if they maintain that, and it's just an hour of game after game after game after game, man, I hope we all walk away and we're all very happy. That's all I got to say, because it's time. That's a lot of time to fill. And so I think there's going to be something for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. I also just have this feeling that we are going to get one or two VR announcements that are going to be big hybrid games, like something of the caliber of like Dead Space, the Dead Space remake coming to VR.
Silent Hill 2?
Yes. And what's the Metal Gear Solid, the Metal Gear Solid game that is pretty much like
almost confirmed, right?
Almost, it's as close as you get into confirm without being confirmed.
I really hope it's Metal Gear Solid 1 and not 3. No, nothing wrong with 3. I just want them to start from the beginning. Do
you know what? I have played Snake Eater. I honestly can't remember much about it at all. When everyone talks about what a brilliant game it is, I genuinely, I kept remembering it being like a short sort of demo style game, and everyone's like, no, it was a full game. I was like, I just can't remember it. Number 1 and 2, I have very fond memories of. I had fond memories of 3, but I just can't really remember it.
I didn't play much of 3. I started 3. But
the one cool thing was that you could get all the camo, like the different camouflage.
They went
like
deep with that stuff. I remember getting far enough into the game where I was like, they went really fucking deep with this camouflage stuff, like way deeper than I expected them to. But I don't know. I mean, like Metal Gear's been kind of dormant for a while now, and so I feel like if you want to bring it back, start with Metal Gear Solid and just kind of like reintroduce it to people, and start there. But
Death Stranding in VR would be. I just feel like there is going to be some games like this, like because they just realize you're going to breathe all new life into some games. Like it takes a lot of development to make VR ports. I'm not saying that, but it's kind of like when it comes to where does Sony want to invest its money? Do you want to invest money in just games that have been built VR from the ground up, or even like new games that have made hybrid games? Or do you want to say, look at some of these PS4 titles that we've got that did very well, and actually, they might say, let's just take a punt with VR. They're not taking a punt; it's going to be calculated. But they look at, let's see what happens when we take a Death Stranding, and we give a VR mode, and let's see. Because the people that did look at it and go, walking simulator, not really for me. But then it's like, actually try it in VR. That I don't know. It's interesting.
Just before we move on, you had said something about Half-Life Alyx, saying if we don't see it during this showcase, then you don't think we're going to see it.
What I said was like if it doesn't get released this holiday, then I don't think it's going to get released. So it seems like this is the right time. If it doesn't get announced today and it is coming out, then maybe on a future State of Play. But I don't know. What do you feel? Do you feel that if it doesn't get released by the holidays, it could still come out a year later? I think the window's been missed by that point.
I mean, I don't think there is a window, right? It's a game that's locked on PC VR, right? You're not playing this thing on Quest. You're not playing this thing on PSVR1. It's locked to another platform, and I don't think there's a window for good games, right? I think I would hope that that there would be enhancements made to it, whether it comes out this holiday or 3 holidays from now. I hope there would be enhancements that would say, hey, this is what's improved in the VR space in the last few years, because it's been 2-3 years since Alyx came out. I feel like it already needs enhancements based on the gameplay that I've seen. It already needs it because we've evolved. We've gotten further. Like people aren't nearly as afraid of motion sickness. It's like, give us a goddamn jump button, right? So we'll see. But I hope that whether it comes out this year or 2027, that it's enhanced and is brought up to speed, so we get a great version of it on PSVR2. I don't think there's a window that's closing. I think that we'll get it whenever they decide to fucking bring it to us.
Okay, that's fair enough. I'm someone who's actually never played Half-Life Alyx, and I've stayed completely blind to it because I don't want to know anything about it, because I hope to one day play it. And I'm just curious to know, are we getting to a point where, okay, it's still going to be a good game, but are there elements of it that would definitely need updating just because it is now a couple of years old? It's still a brilliant VR game, but do you think that there are things that VR games are starting to do as the norm now, which would make that game seem dated in any way? Maybe the answer is no, but...
All right, buddy. Before we get to our first news story, 37 minutes into the show, we've got a few tips we need to take care of. We got Pietrek F with the 12 plantains. I think in relation to the PlayStation Showcase, he writes, low expectations. Alyx, Metal Gear Solid VR, Silent Hill VR, Grand Theft Auto. So if this is Pietrek F's definition of low expectations, then if you have great expectations, I can only imagine what you're expecting. Dude, Alex Metal Gear Solid, Silent Hill, and Grand Theft Auto would be the greatest VR showcase of all time, right? I don't know how we could get much better than that, to be honest with you. I will take that. Darth Vader the Game Cat with the $10 tip says, give me those sweet hybrid titles. PlayStation showcases are all about wowing people, blowing people out of their seats. I think we're in for a massive treat next week. Hold on to your butts. I totally agree. I think that, you know, they're going before Microsoft, they're going before Meta, they're going before Nintendo, they're going before everything, right?
Yeah.
They're confident. They're confident. They have over an hour of new games to show us. We are going to be wowed. Myles, if I don't cry during this, like I did during the one where they re-revealed The Last Guardian, I cried during that one. I was also very drunk, but I fucking cried during it because I was like, oh my God. They like showed Kingdom Hearts 3. I was like, this is the greatest show. It was like an E3 thing, and it was amazing. I used to take E3 off every single year from work. I would take it off. I would buy a handle of vodka. I'd order pizza. Man, I'd sit in my fold-out bed in front of my old TV and just be like, this is my fucking Super Bowl. And I remember being extremely drunk when they showed Kingdom Hearts 3 and The Last Guardian again. I think that might have been the same year as Shenmue 3. And I was just like, I couldn't. Yeah, if I don't cry this year, man, I'm going to ask for a refund.
It is. I think it is going to be incredible. I think like the idea of keeping your expectations in check. I don't think it's to say that it might be a disappointment showcase. It won't be. It's just in terms of there's so many ways this can go. Like there's so many things that could be shown and can't be shown.
There's so many ways this could go wrong.
Yeah, that also.
Right.
It could be just Jim Ryan talking for an hour about how great PlayStation is.
Pie charts.
And he goes, and now we'll leave you with this.
Yep.
And it's like a discount on PlayStation Plus for the next year.
Right. Yeah. Man Bear Pig Game Cat, he does exist with the $2 tip. Says 2 remakes, 1 update, 2 ports, and 1 surprise Sony showcase. That's, you know, two remakes, 1 update, 2 ports, 1 surprise. The fact that they did mention new IPs. They were very keen on mentioning new IPs in the PlayStation blog post when it came to this. I'm sure there'll be remakes. I'm sure there'll be remasters. I'm sure there'll be sequels. But man, I'm with you, Myles, man. Because I feel like gaming's been a little bit stagnant. We don't get nearly the number of new IPs we used to. And I think those are what I'm most excited about.
They've got about 20 first-party studios working on stuff at the moment. I think they've got 10 live service games being developed. There was an interesting article recently with Herman Holst, who was just sort of batting away the idea that doesn't mean we're making 10 fortnights. Like live service games can mean all sorts. I mean, technically, Gran Turismo 7 is a live service game because you have to be online to play it. So, there's all sorts that could be going on there. Bug Snacks VR, yeah, that's definitely something I would like to see.
I mean, actually, in all fairness, yeah, I mean, when Bug Snacks came out at the launch of PlayStation 5, right, we were all like, this feels like it would be a better VR game. So, I don't know.
Bunga.
King Bean with the 5 quid says remaster Rescue Mission as a hybrid game. Oh, remaster AstroBot Rescue Mission is a hybrid game, playable for everyone. Bigger remaster and marketing budget. Yeah, maybe. I'll tell you right now. I know that not everybody agrees with me on this, and if you don't agree with me, then go fuck yourself. Here's what AstroBot Rescue Mission needs. I love pissing people off, Myles. They're like, how dare he? How dare he have a different opinion than I do and tell me to go fuck myself?
It's disgraceful.
Right? Try being a YouTuber for a day and you'll be like, okay, everyone go fuck yourself. No, dude, it's but in all seriousness, I do have problems with AstroBot Rescue Mission. I think it's a great first entry for Astro. And also, you know, in the earlier days of VR, I think it did a lot of great things. I don't think I want another game in the style of AstroBot Rescue Mission 1. I don't like that every level's a corridor, right? That it just moves from the start of it. The camera just goes forward, right? constantly.
Mm.
Right? Dude, we've evolved. We all want more than this. I want full open levels where you're free to explore. Run all the way to the right, run all the way to the left. Like it's just a big, different open area. I don't think they need to be these corridors anymore. I feel like if you give us control over the camera rather than just turning your head, like let us go way off in that direction. And also the gadgets. It's fun being like, oh, here's your gadget for this level. But I also think it would be fun to collect gadgets like Super Mario 3 style, right? And then you choose which one you want to use to tackle different obstacles, right? You come up to a giant wall and you look at the different gadgets in your arsenal and you go, oh, do I want to create stairs? Do I want to like do this? Do I have like some kind of grappling hook? Like what are the different things in my arsenal? Like don't give me one tool to solve all the puzzles in the level. Give me a variety of tools and then say, how do you want to do this?
That'd be great. And someone in the chat was actually saying AstroBot's carts would be cool. And I'm thinking about with all the gadgets, that would be a really awesome thing. And Sony must know like what are the big genres of games that have always been successful and what could we dominate in VR. I mean, they could literally look at Galaxy Kart and go, yeah, let's get one of our big IPs and do a better one than that. Like, and it's no slight at Galaxy Kart, but the point is, you've got all these indie developers. This is always what happens with new mediums. The indie developers are the ones that get stuck in. They innovate, and then the big fish come along and go, yeah, we'll just now use our IP and do something like that. You've kind of worked out the hard bit. We'll now, just optimize. An AstroBot kart would be a fun one.
Dude, we've had so many good like AAA kart racers, right? Like obviously over on Nintendo platforms, there's always been Mario Kart. There's always been, Sonic Transformed. I forget what the fuck those were called. And then we had Crash Team Racing. Those were great. It's mind boggling that we've yet to have a AAA VR one, right? Just like convert those into VR. And I think Astro, if they really do want to make him, and I think he is already, I guess technically the PlayStation mascot, then he's the guy we want giving us a kart racer. Make it, and that's a perfect hybrid game. So I don't know, man. I don't know. Super Elastic Bubble Plastic Game Cat, the $10 tip says, give me a Ready Player One movie themed open world VR or something similar. I'm done crying over Rockstar's GTA and Red Dead. Someone please step up. What do you think, man?
Well, it reminded me of something slightly off, but just about this kind of like, I just think about these social spaces and that, and it just reminded me of something I was going to ask earlier, which was PlayStation Home. Do you think Sony are going to announce some kind of social, not necessarily PlayStation Home, but some kind of social space?
No.
Their attempt at the metaverse.
No. Like, dude, okay, so unlike Half-Life Alyx, I do think that if that was something they really wanted to do, then that, we would have at least seen signs of life at launch, right? At least a basic, hey, here's your room, and then like on the door that leads outside, just right under construction. We'll get to the rest of this later, right? But nothing, no signs of PlayStation Home whatsoever. And so I don't know, man. Like it would be cool, but I just don't
feel
think
like
that's.
This is I think this generation, they are going to have to start. They are going to look at some metaverse stuff, and especially because Rec Room isn't on PSVR2 yet. And for GameCats who don't know this, when it was announced about the Meta Showcase, I tweeted saying something along the lines of, "Oh, great! Hopefully, this means announcements about Beat Saber and Rec Room for PSVR2 are just around the corner." I wasn't saying they were specifically going to be at the Meta Showcase, although I'm now a bit more confident about it. And Rec Room actually tweeted me with the a GIF from Toy Story where Woody shakes the 8-ball and it says "Don't count on it."
Nice.
And I was actually really impressed that Rec Room actually responded with that, because that was quite a bold thing of like, "Don't count on it." Like,
yeah.
I just feel like without Rec Room there's a massive sort of there's a kind of what we were saying with Beat Saber and rhythm games. Although what I'd say about rhythm games is there's a lot of music games. Drum Rock I've been playing, and Unplugged I've played. Both games are okay, but it's like Synth Riders is fantastic. but it all comes down to like the music choice, and Beat Saber has such a great catalog it is going to be quite hard to beat. Synth Riders obviously does very well, but then in the sort of social space, for me, it's like Pavlov, Walkabout Golf. These are the ones where you kind of have a sort of social environment.
Yeah.
But there is still this wide opening of like, if not Rec Room, then what? And yeah.
Trying to figure out where we are. Josh Cat with the $5 tip says pie charts, bar graphs, Venn diagrams. Brian's talking dirty to me now. Hell yeah, man. It's Science Friday, in case you didn't know. There's always Josh over on Discord. See? So many reasons to join Discord. There's he posts question of the day over there. I'll get your tail. I got your tail. You want to hang out? You want to hang out? Huh? Do you want to hang out? Or are you just going to like fucking distract me? Huh? Because I think both are happening. Josh Cat posts question of the day Monday to Friday, and every Friday is a science question. Today he asked, and I think it broke my brain, Miles. I'm not going to lie. Today he asked the question of the day. Should numbers be organized alphabetically instead of numerically? And I think and that seriously took me 20 minutes to even comprehend. So,
yeah, I'm already trying to think about it, and I'm like, "Is this not on a Friday night, please?"
Right, I feel like we need Science Mondays. It's like let's start it's already a rocky start to our week. Let's just make it worse. Let's kind of to the bent.
4.
I can only imagine what you're doing. Are you alphabetizing numbers over there?
A lot of F's and T's.
Yeah. Well, the important thing is that 0 will be at the end.
Oh my goodness!
Because
right.
Josh's reasoning was that numbers shouldn't start with 0. They should end with 0.
And there's an infinite number of numbers, but you know that at the very end of the infinite will be the 0. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy, Brian?
It means we'll never get to 0.
0 is it at the end?
Yeah.
If it's an infinite, but if there's an infinite, does that mean 0 doesn't exist at the end because there's no end?
I don't understand. This is how I started my day. I don't need to continue my day like this. We got Looper, the underground game cat, who, by the way, no longer on the Altair Breaker leaderboards because a new event has started. With the €5, says Elder Scrolls 6, Grand Theft Auto 6, Half-Life 3, and Resident Evil 9, all playable in VR. I guess that answers the question of if you're keeping your expectations not in check, here's everything that you might expect to see. All right, man. I think it's time to move on. It's time to get back to the show. 17 hours later. Thank you, everybody, for your donations, for your tips. We appreciate it. You got to keep this channel running. Got to keep the pizza coming. I love you all so very much. Dude, over on Fumitsu, they had an interview with Jim Ryan.
Oh, really?
They did indeed. And
what did Jim have to say? Is he up to anything lately? Is he doing PlayStation stuff?
He's doing PlayStation stuff. Yep. And hopefully I've got this right. We're probably going to turn into gray boxes as I bring up the translated version of this. But you guys just stay tuned. The gray boxes will disappear eventually. So here is what was said. Fumitsu asked Jim Ryan, the PlayStation VR2 was released on February 22nd. How do you analyze the reaction of game fans and the spread of hardware and software? Jim Ryan responds, PSVR2 has improved all kinds of functions compared to PSVR, and the performance and functions have been greatly improved. I am happy that it is loved by many game fans. I'm pretty sure, Miles, that this has been translated. His words were translated into Japanese for the Fumitsu article, and then we are retranslating them back into English by Google Translate. Yeah. So if it sounds awkward, I think that's the reason. He goes, developers are also developing titles that make the most of the functions of PSVR2 that we developed. Have you experienced PSVR2? Fumitsu replied, yes, I played Gran Turismo 7, and I was surprised how realistic it was. Jim Ryan says, Gran Turismo 7 is wonderful. In PSVR2, there are many excellent titles such as Horizon Call of the Mountain, and we plan to be able to enjoy Resident Evil 4 and Beat Saber in the future, which is good that he brought up Resident Evil 4. I know some people are worried about that. Fumitsu responded, "What do you think of the popularity of the PSVR2 hardware?" Jim Ryan responds, "PSVR2 has just been launched, so it may be a little early to judge its popularity, but we are happy to see many positive reactions from users and the media. I just listed some of the compatible titles, but more than 40 titles have been released around the launch of PSVR2. In addition, there are many titles ahead of us in 2023 and beyond. We will continue to push forward so that those who purchase PSVR2 can enjoy it for a long time, and we can also secure profits." I love that he just threw that in at the end. So you can enjoy games for a long time, and we can also make money. He responded, Fumitsu responded, said, "By the way, what's your favorite PSVR2 title?" Jim Ryan says, "There are many, but the rhythm action game Beat Saber that is scheduled to be released in the future." So very interesting.
Hey, Brian, question: what VR game do you think Jim Ryan likes to play most?
I don't think Jim Ryan gives a fuck about VR, honestly.
You don't think he goes home after a hard day's work and gets in and does some?
This is why we need Shuhei Yoshida back, right? When Shuhei Yoshida was the president of Sony Interactive Entertainment, you get the real feel from him that he was an actual gamer and that he cared about the studios and he cared about everything and he just wanted to play everything. And now that Shuhei has stepped down, and he's, I think he stepped down into a role that he was happier with in terms of he gets to go talk to all these indie studios now, right? He's like making sure that the indie studio catalog is huge on PlayStation, and so. And every time Shu tweets, it's always about how much he loves this other game, right? Some game gets announced, he goes, "I'm so happy that this game is finally coming out. I absolutely love it. This is why I like it so much." And you just get the sense from Shuhei that he's a gamer. I never get that sense from Jim Ryan, right? I feel like Jim Ryan's probably an amazing businessman.
Right. And excellent at what he does, yeah.
Right.
But just not.
Right?
He's like, Shuhei is very similar to Phil Spencer, right? Just like...
Yeah.
A real fan of games, because what I've always enjoyed about Phil Spencer is his solidarity with other, he has a Nintendo Switch in the background when he does interviews and stuff. He compliments PlayStation games. Okay.
Yeah. So this is, I don't know. So I mean that was a weird takeaway from this. This is what I would call non-news. Because
I was like, what are we commenting on here? That he says that more games are coming and more people are going to play, and therefore more money and more people are going to have fun playing VR.
Yeah, I mean, the fact is we already know that there's more games coming. I could name 50 PSVR2 games that are still coming this year. We were just talking about it in voice chat, and that's like more than that's. Actually, okay, I could probably name like 50 to 60, right? And so that's roughly 10 to 12 a month, which kind of boils down to about 2 a week on average, which that won't be how it goes down. We'll have 3 weeks with nothing and then 1 week with like 12 games.
But before I ask you to name them all,
right,
please do so in alphabetical order.
Okay, let's start with 0. Damn, that's all I got. But I mean, there's obviously the big ones that we're excited about. Or bigger ones. They don't have to be exclusives. Things like Journey to Foundation, Synapse, right? Those are fairly big games by studios that we trust. Archaeact and End Dreams. We also got Ghostbusters coming from End Dreams, right? There's actually, if you look at the sizzle reel that's on the front page of the channel, what I put like 92 games or something that are all coming to PSVR2, and half of those games aren't out yet. So you can just blast through that and see a good number for yourself. Plus, I'm personally aware of a few that haven't been announced yet. Nothing crazy. Like I'm not privy to like crazy big announcements. But I do think that next week when the showcase happens, that list is going to get substantively. Wow, I can't pronounce that word. Substance. Is that even
one of those things that? No, it is a word, but I knew it, and then as soon it's like collective amnesia. When people what the answer is, and they go, "Oh, what is it?" And it's like the moment they ask you, they push it out your head, and then you're like, "I don't know anymore."
Let's go with substantially bigger. I mean, substantially. I don't think and again, I don't think we're going to get 20 PSVR2 announcements at the show. I think we'll get.
No.
I think I would like to see a sizzle reel of remasters. I'd like to see a sizzle reel of third-party indie games, and I'd like to see a handful of AAA hybrid games, and then one or two first-party Sony titles, whether they be hybrids or built from the ground up for VR games. So, yeah, there's a lot of shit on the way. So again, non-news article. However, that was just a small part of a much larger interview.
Mm-hmm.
It was basically Jim Ryan saying, "There's a showcase coming up next week, stupid. Like, I can't announce anything. I'm not going to tell you in an interview."
I'd love it if he said it like that.
Right? What are you, stupid?
What are you, stupid?
Right. Be great.
Look at the schedule. There's a showcase. Yeah, we're going to be talking about games.
Yeah. Why did you?
I like if he went that. Jim Ryan going, duh.
Why didn't we do this interview after the showcase?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, why didn't you stop wasting my time? Watch the showcase, then come back to me, and then I'll give you your answers.
Looper, the underground game cat with the €2 says, "I didn't even know I was on the leaderboards for Altair Breaker." You were. You're actually pretty damn high, to be honest. Elvert and I were chasing you for like a couple days. I was number one after a while, but again, the event has ended. And we're on to a new event. Although I will say, if you want to get top of the leaderboard in this new event, it only started yesterday, the day before. So it's like nobody scores more than like 20,000. You can just do a couple runs and be number one. Had a lot of fun with Altair Breaker. I can't wait to get that review out. A lot of fun, but it's not something I really totally recommend, which is always a strange review to write. King Rollo, the James Cat. It's a good one. With the £5. So I'd love to see a Tron type flat. Then VR when on the grid with some new one-handed shooting on light cycles. This was also translated into Japanese and then translated back.
Yeah, and then back in. No, that's cool. I get it. There's something about Tron in VR. I like that.
Okay.
With a Daft Punk soundtrack, I'm sold.
See, normally Tron would be something that I'd be like, you know what, I wasn't a Tron person when I was a kid. Like I was like not into it. But the light cycle stuff that was made in Dreams, there were two Tron.
Oh, really?
Yeah, two Tron games that were light cycle racing, and they were just so well done that it's like if they were part of a larger AAA game, I would be like, yep, this is how this would look in play. That's amazing.
Right. Because the whole point in Tron movies is these people are on actual bikes and they're racing, and so when you play a lot of these games, like Grand Theft Auto had like those kind of games, you're playing in third person, which okay, there is still skill to it, but it's not as difficult when you've got an over top view and you can kind of see where the beam is. The idea that you're racing in VR on bikes, you have to have a lot more perspective. Like that's a cool challenge.
Yeah.
Lots of people are still trying to pronounce the word that we were trying to pronounce. Someone put substantively.
Substantive.
Yeah, so I'm put
substantive.
Substantively.
Substantive. Yeah.
Someone put sub Stanley, and straight away I was like, Stanley's Parable. I would love to play that in VR. That is a good game.
Oh, this is funny. Yeah, I didn't notice this in the chat. Yeah, people are getting Metal Gear references in here. Subsistence, Metal Gear Solid 6, Substantive.
Yeah,
that's funny shit. Metal Gear 7, Stanley Parable. Yeah, okay. Yeah, Hypercycle Arena. Thank you, Chrome Colossus. I don't know why the name wasn't ringing a bell. Hypercycle Arena, so good. Do I not? I was just looking for. I swear I had. Oh yeah, here we go. Hypercycle Arena. This is Hypercycle Arena. In case you haven't seen it. Here, I'm gonna go full screen for this shit, dude. Here's.
I can't see it, so I've just got to pretend I'm amazed by it.
Just pretend you're amazed by it. It's fine.
Just in case people didn't realize, I can only see Bryan in the chat. Whenever he plays like clip of the week and stuff, I have to kind of actually now when he plays clip of the week, I actually play the file on my computer when he says he starts playing it, just so I can kind of react in real time. That's the dedication right here. So what am I reacting to?
Nothing.
Just tell me what sort of emotion am I showing?
I don't. You remember Macaulay Culkin in Home Alone? It was like,
yeah,
perfect.
But doesn't he?
When he
puts the aftershave on.
Yeah,
that's so good. How about that?
We don't want you to be in pain. We want you to be surprised by how amazing this looks. Yeah.
Oh, Bryan, again, I mean, Home Alone VR would be a great game where you have to lay the traps down and stuff like that. That'd be cool.
Sure.
But when I was speaking with Ash on Wednesday, we both agreed as huge horror fans, The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing, having a VR game of that, like the Among Us, but like proper hardcore where people are mutating, that would just be amazing. There's just so many great IP that needs to come to VR and will do one day.
Yeah, I don't remember The Thing having I don't know if there were a lot of attempts to make that into a video game. The only one I can remember is on PlayStation 2 or that era. I think it also came to Xbox, maybe GameCube. I don't remember. And it was good.
It was a sequel. It was a sequel. It was a sequel to the movie. Yeah.
Was it a sequel?
Yeah, it was done as a sequel to the to the movie. Yeah.
All this malarkey with the Australian $15 says half donation for the pizza fund, half donation for the BioShock port to PSVR2. Dude, for real. Listen, I want everybody to know if you're tuning in to watch the showcase with us next week, and if there's even a hint of BioShock coming to VR, I might faint. I might cry. This might be the thing that makes me cry, right? Fuck The Last Guardian, fuck Kingdom Hearts 3. If BioShock gets announced for PSVR2, I will cry.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask then, Bryan.
Yeah.
What is the IP? Like, forget about realism. What is the one VR announcement that would just make you lose it more than anything? Would be just if you could right now say, I can will into existence this like port to VR, this IP into VR. What would it be?
I mean, I think I've been asking for BioShock for so long. It would be hard and probably disingenuous for me not to say BioShock, right? That's not an exciting pick right now. I mean, if you want to get real creative with this, Myles, then let's take it way back to my favorite point and click adventure game from when I was a kid, Loom by Brian Moriarty, that published by LucasArts, right? Where you walk around and you're this kid, Bob and Threadbare, and you've got a staff, and instead of like all the verbs on the bottom of the screen, you just had notes, and you strung together different notes to make different things happen, right? How cool would it be to walk around and have a staff in your actual hand in first person, walk around and like, have a way to like point it into the sky to like hit different notes and then like summon different things to happen. Like that's, I guess, as far as like my dream game that'll never happen. That, although I think Tatum's in the chat saying Judas might be more likely to be a VR game. So BioShock, great. Judas, yeah, we'll see how that goes. I just want it to be good, man. I want it to be good because like I didn't love BioShock Infinite. I know a lot of people loved Infinite. I didn't love Infinite. I liked the World of Rapture so much. Right? That's what made me love BioShock. And when they brought it up to this bright, sunny, whatever, Columbia, was that what it was called? I was like, yeah, I played it because it was BioShock, but I was like, this is my least favorite one. And 2 was like, all right,
That's awesome, Bryan. And there's some really good suggestions in chat. Everyone's saying what they'd like, from Harry Potter VR to Alien Isolation. Yeah, for me, it's there's a lot of games I'd love to see, like The Last of Us and stuff like that. But just hand on heart, a game that I'd love to see more than anything is The Forest getting a proper official VR port. If that came out, I'd lose my mind. I would love just to play co-op and do base building and just explore the forest and the caves and everything. That is a game I could see myself spending a lot of time in. But yeah, for me, The Forest is like probably top of my list.
Forest would be great. Honestly, my hope is less about one specific game. My hope for the future of PSVR2 is that it's kind of everything we wanted, right? Why isn't Amnesia The Dark Descent in VR? Why isn't Alien Isolation in VR? Why isn't, I mean, we could just name game after game after game after game. Be like, all of these need to be in VR, right? Like I was talking to Vader in voice chat before the show, and he's like, just, we're talking about like his biggest hope would be Dead Island 2 in VR. Dude, I'd prefer Dead Island 1. How much work could it possibly take to get Dead Island 1 into VR, right? That was a PlayStation 3 game, but I digress.
We always digress, Bryan. That's what we're here for on a Friday.
Well, we should stop digressing so much because we're past our hour mark and we still haven't gotten to the topic of the show. But just first, we got Lost My Mojo, Game Cat Wilkins with a $20 tip. Didn't say anything, so I'm just scrolling down, making sure that we didn't miss anything, because if you did want to say something, Lost My Mojo. Just looking. I don't see another comment. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you guys very much for the donations. Really, really appreciate it. Appreciate you keeping the channel running. We can't do it without you.
Yeah, much love. And do hit the like button if you haven't already. At the very least, hit the like button. It makes a huge difference. Yep. There are hundreds of you watching right now with clickable thumbs to click.
Yeah, and also join the Discord. We don't make any money off the Discord. The Discord is just a cool place to hang out. Discord actually cost me money to run, and it costs a lot of people a lot of time. All my moderators over there spend way too many hours of their day running it and making sure that everybody's getting along and playing nice. So we spend a lot of time and a lot of money making sure that is being kept up. We don't ask anything from you for that. So a lot of people do charge to join their Discord. We don't. So come join, hang out, and have fun.
It is the most amazing community, and there's channels for individual games and that, so you can get tips on games, because often in VR, there's a lot of VR, because VR is a lot more niche than flat screens. There's often a lot of games that come out where if you get stuck on stuff, there aren't actually guides online and things like that. But the community is really, really helpful for things. And we've just hit 400 people watching live right now. So to anyone watching right now, I'm talking to you. If you have a YouTube account, all you need is a YouTube account. Is just take that cursor. I'm going to do it now because I haven't done it yet, and I don't want to be a hypocrite. I'm going over to that button that says I like this, and I'm just going to click it. And for me, it's going from 156 to 157. And if you don't like the stream, you can hit the dislike button. It's still engagement. It still helps. But yeah.
All right, Myles.
Let's get it to 200, Bryan. Let's get it to 250. 300, Bryan. Sorry, let's continue.
All right, man. Let's get to the topic of the show. Thanks for being the YouTuber that I don't want to be, Myles. I appreciate you, and I love you very much.
I haven't done it the last few weeks, and everyone in the chat is doing it, so I feel like I need to step up my game again. Right. Especially if this is going to be the best ever Friday's GAMESCAST live ever.
I mean, how do you think it's going so far?
I think it's going really, really good.
Good. Whether
it's the best, I think, is yet to be seen. It's yet to be seen.
Well, hopefully this conversation will get us there. And I don't even want to hide my inspiration for this. Yesterday, Nathy tweeted out a first person Spider-Man image, right? And just how great would it be to get Spider-Man in VR? And immediately the gear started turning, right? The gear started turning immediately, and I was like, Spider-Man would be great in VR. We've talked about this a lot. We've even gotten 2 Spider-Man experiences over on PSVR 1. One where it was just you standing on a rooftop and kind of shooting at targets. And the second you actually moved and jumped off the roof, it gave you this massive mandatory blinder. And then the game ended. You didn't even really get to do the thing you've been dying to do. And then the other one that came up more recently basically gave you this kind of boring but open world to web sling around in, and a couple enemies to kill. And so it was very much like a proof of concept to be does this work in VR? And as it turns out, yes, it does. I think we're all in agreement that we want Spider-Man in VR, but I'm not sure if we're all in agreement of how to get there and exactly what kind of features it should have. So I thought, what a great topic for today's show. And I'll tell you right now, there's no better sounding board than having 400 people in the chat telling us that we're wrong, or in giving us their opinions. So please do not hold back. I'm very curious to know what everybody thinks. So the very first question, Myles, is the poll that I put up forever ago. It's already got 343 votes. Do you want a Spider-Man on PSVR2 or Spider-Man PSVR2 game to be a hybrid game or built from the ground up for VR? Very interesting that this split is very close. Right? A hybrid game has 58% of the votes, and built from the ground up for VR has 42%. Why do you think, Myles, that more people aren't voting for built from the ground up for VR?
Because I think people want full-fledged game experiences. You know, look at Call of the Mountain versus Horizon Forbidden West. Of course, Horizon Forbidden West would be incredible to experience in VR. The truth is, for a lot of these developers, when it comes to resource, I think it's that if they're ever going to do it, they're going to first of all start with a smaller project. I do think a built from the ground up VR game is most likely. Also, I do think there are challenges with hybrid games that haven't really maybe been acknowledged as much as they should, just because there haven't been many. So, like, you think of some of the greatest hybrid examples, and for me, it's Capcom and what they do with Resident Evil. I don't really know if it was much the case with Resident Evil 7, but I know with Village, and I definitely experienced this, and I've only played 2 hours. I don't know if you felt this was a recurring thing throughout the entire game. But without going into specifics, when you're in cutscenes, because in VR you can look all around you, there were often times where you weren't looking in the direction you should have been. Like, there is an advantage to flat screen games where they can actually, you know, say this is the view we want you to have. This is the frame. Whereas in VR, you got to look everywhere, and so it's not just straightforward as just porting the game exactly. There are considerations you have to think about. So, yeah, those are a few of my initial thoughts on the hybrid versus ground up.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think the reason I think that fewer people said built from the ground up for VR is literally Call of the Mountain. Because we found out that, hey, this is, you know, this first party Sony property that's been in development for quite a while, and they had seemingly plenty of time to get this right. And what we ended up with was something that was, yes, uniquely VR, but no, not uniquely Horizon. It was, you know, there were Horizon elements in it, but the game was 95% climbing, and you've got to figure that is because it was built from the ground up for VR. If we'd gotten Horizon Zero Dawn, if we'd gotten Horizon Forbidden West, just in first person VR, I think so many more people would have been happier, much happier. In fact, you know, all those systems, all those upgrades, the progression system, the different types of combat, different types of weapons. I mean, it's just a bigger, better game all around. There's just no denying that Call of the Mountain, for what it was great, but it certainly wasn't a full-fledged Horizon game by any stretch of the imagination. And because of that, I'm actually surprised to even see 42% of the people vote for built from the ground up for VR. What I want is a full-fledged Spider-Man game that is equal to, but even more fun to play than its flat screen counterpart.
Yeah. No, I don't really have much more to add to that. I totally agree. And I think that Call of the Mountain has been an interesting first look and tester. And obviously, reactions to it can be taken in one of two ways. One way is, right, we need to take this to the next level and do a, you know, Forbidden West port. Or it's, no, we need to do more of these type of games until we get it right, or get it to a level that people are. I mean, to be honest, like Call of the Mountain, I think for experienced VR gamers, those critiques are going to be there. Like, we want the bigger open worlds and stuff like that. But right. I think for a lot of people that are still new to VR, it's going to be an amazing first game, like, experience, and I think they're going to be blown away by it. So, I do think that we, as a community, are going to be a little bit more critical of it than most people. And we're not saying it's a bad game. Just need to say the obvious thing there as well.
Darth Vader, the Game Cat, with a $10 tip, chimes in and says, built from the ground up, 100%. I would want to be first person with physics-based web slinging and web-style combat. Spider-Man could use his gadgets and web shooters to take down enemies. I think all that could be done in a hybrid game as well, though. Obviously, certain things would have to be redesigned. I mean, okay, so I mean, straight up, man, like it has to be first person, right? And I think this is a game, this is a type of game that will test a lot of people, and I don't think it's going to be for everybody, because when you think of all the things that Spider-Man does in terms of web slinging, in terms of climbing buildings, in terms of just being up really fucking high, right? There are people who are going to be have issues with motion sickness. There are going to be people who have issues with just the velocity of the movement. There are going to be people who have issues with just their fear of heights all around, right? And I don't think this game is going to be for any of those people. However, if you're like a lot of us who have been playing VR for a few years and are excited to see just how far you can push the envelope, right? We've played Windlands, we played Jupiter Grab, we've played these games that, in essence, the Locomotion wants to be a Spider-Man game, right? These are games that are 100% about web slinging, whatever, just in a different format. And it was so much fun to traverse those worlds. Doing that in an actual Spider-Man game across the city of Manhattan would be fucking incredible. And so I definitely think that first person is where it's at.
Yeah. Do you know there's actually a PSVR2 game that got me fantasizing about the Spider-Man VR possibility, and it's not a game that you'd probably expect me to say. It was Pavlov, and it's in the strangest of ways. And it's because in Pavlov, when you're in game modes that when you die, you've got to wait for the round to end. You can just move around like a ghost around the map.
Yep.
But if you want to teleport, when you teleport, it's like a beam, and it's not a straight line. It kind of flops over, and as you do it, you then teleport towards it. And so as you're like throwing it out there, just in my mind, I was just like, I just sometimes mess around like throwing it at walls and stuff, and it kind of feels like a web slinger. Now, there's going to be a lot of people that play and go, Myles, no, it doesn't. You're completely off your mind. What you're thinking about. And I'm totally used to that. That's how I am normally. But like, genuinely speaking, there's a lot when I'm using it. Like, if you play it on Pavlov, you'll see that the way that the line goes, it sort of goes in a curve. And it just got me thinking about it. So sometimes when I'm waiting for the next round to start, I'll start doing this, like going around the map pretty quickly, thinking, yeah, I'd love to do this as Spider-Man.
Yeah. Myles.
Bryan.
Co-op.
Well, this is going to be the big question, isn't it, about Spider-Man 2, because it has both Peter Parker and Miles Morales in it.
Yep.
This could be a big announcement that we get at the State of Play, that it is going to be a 2-player co-op game.
I mean, we're getting further and further away from the classic template of the single player, solitary adventure. And I do think that the more people start requesting, but hey, I mean, dude, I can't remember the last time I played a single player VR game, and I didn't see comments constantly saying, I would play this if it was multiplayer. I would play this if it had co-op, right? And so there's no way that developers aren't hearing this. And so, if you make a Spider-Man game and Peter and Miles are both in it, what are the chances that it's not going to be a co-op multiplayer game? And again, how much better would that be? First-person VR co-op. Great, man. I mean, were you able to play the last Spider-Man experience where you were able to swing around the city? Did you play that?
If you call it swinging.
Why? What happened?
Wasn't it just really slow?
Was it slow? I don't remember it being slow.
I don't know. It's where you're against the giant robot, right?
Yeah, I think there was a robot. Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah. I just remember it being really slow, just like it was barely swinging. But that was just my experience of it. I mean, it was fine. It was fine for what it was. But I'm like, yeah. Are you trying to get video footage of it?
I'm trying to remember if I have.
Maybe I was just really terrible at swinging, and so I was just like not getting any momentum, and I was a terrible Spider-Man.
Dude, I was such a terrible Spider-Man. I learned as soon as it was available. Is this it? Oh my god, this looks way worse than I remember it. But yeah, I live streamed it. I downloaded it and immediately set up a live stream and live streamed it. I guess it does look a little bit slow, but it was really fun. Yeah, and I was terrible at it because what I was doing was I was just shooting both webs simultaneously and just trying to, because I was, I think you got to train to be Spider-Man a little bit, right? To be, until you're good at alternating webs left and right. I was just shooting both at the same time and just, hoping that I wouldn't die. This actually looks much worse than I remember it being.
That's what I was saying. I'm seeing it now on the mainstream channel. So yeah, it is really slow. Like if that was the speed you were doing in the main Spider-Man game, people would just be using fast travel all the time.
Yeah.
Like the swinging functionality is so phenomenal in the Spider-Man and Spider-Man Miles Morales games that you don't use fast travel because it's just fun to swing to where you need to go next. And that is something that's the make or break of whether or not it's going to be a VR game. And it might sound obvious. Well, yeah, well, what else are you going to do? I mean, there's combat and stuff like that, but I have no doubt that Insomniac Games have been testing the swing functionality on PSVR2 hardware, and it's a question of what is the funnel of number of PS5 owners that buy PSVR2, and then what percentage of them are going to have a tolerance level enough for, whatever mechanics that they set up. Because it's an interesting one, because it is a massive IP. Like Spider-Man 2 is like this, the flat screen game is going to be one of the biggest selling games of the year. It's going to possibly be game of the year. It's a massive IP. I mean, Spider-Man was always the most popular Marvel character. I believe that was the case anyway. You've got Insomniac Games, which is one of the greatest game developers in modern times. Is that enough to bring a lot of people to PSVR2? That might be a part of the calculation as well. But it's also why I do believe it's going to be its own experience. It doesn't mean it can't be a full game, but I do think it will be its own thing, as opposed to having a hybrid of the... I mean, what are we saying anyway? We're saying a hybrid of Spider-Man, the first game, or Miles Morales, or are we actually saying that when the new one comes out? Because I feel like if they were going to do it, they would do it for the first game. But I could be wrong. I don't know.
So I'm Looper the Underground Game Cat with the 5 years says, if you have footage for Resist from other platforms, it can show you how the skyscraper swinging should look instead. Yeah, Resist looks actually fantastic. I do think I have a trailer for that. I think this is Binary Mill. Actually, yeah, I guess I don't have that handy. But yeah, so I mean, no, there are definitely examples of how this can be done better. Yeah, and a lot of games have experimented with this. So what we're looking at now is pretty much a horrible example. But like I said, I do remember it being better than this.
I remember this is exactly how I remember it. I remember it feeling super slow. And yeah.
Okay. Then you, my
but
friend,
then did this
are
come
better
out?
Spider-Man than I am.
But did this come out before the Spider-Man game came out, the first one?
I don't think so.
Okay, because I was going to say that might have, changed it, because when the first Spider-Man came out, that may have made people think differently of this. But yeah.
AJ from PSVR Underground, also my Monday co-host with the $5 tip, says headset rumble for spider senses, adaptive triggers and haptics for web slinging. Make it happen. 100% agree, AJ. I think Spidey senses would be a big thing, right? Regardless of what this game ends up being, if it ends up being a thing, I think Spidey senses are perfect because, dude, headset rumble. Leading up to the launch of PSVR2, having never played it until it actually showed up at my house on launch day, I was curious how headset rumble would work, how it would affect my enjoyment of games, and I would say it's been one of the biggest improvements to VR in my book that has increased my enjoyment of the experience of playing. Right, dude, I had to play more Resident Evil Village recently to capture some more footage for my review that just came out. And it is crazy, man. That shotgun, and I think even the Stake Magnum, there are certain weapons that just rumble your headset with every single shot. And it gets to be the point where like you don't even notice that the headset's rumbling. Right. You just feel it in your body, right? It's this perfect response. And it's something that like I don't think you appreciate until it's gone. And it's something I felt very much on the PlayStation 1 back in the day, right? There would be games that had rumble, and then you play a game and then it'd be like, this game doesn't have rumble. And you're suddenly like, oh, I missed that now. Like I didn't care about it when it was added, but now that I don't have it, it feels absent. And that's exactly how I feel about headset rumble.
I do feel conflicted about it, Brian, because it does mean when I'm playing games like Pavlov, I love getting headshotted because just the rumble feels awesome. And that's not a good sort of positive reinforcement of like, jumping in the way of sniper bullets.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that headshot felt amazing. But no, I joke about that, but I also like it does feel amazing when you get headshotted in those games.
Yeah.
The thing about headset rumble though is it is just a one motor, isn't it? That's like I guess has different intensities. Obviously, if we ever wanted, and I've always said from my earlier streams of Spider-Man VR that the spider sensors would be a great thing with the headset rumble. Ideally, you'd want it when it's advanced haptics, where you're getting rumble on different parts of the head.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you know where it's coming from. But it's not to say that you can't have some kind of like reticle on screen, so you get the rumble, but you also then see visually where it's coming from. So yeah.
Some kind of visual indicator to go along with it. And also, like, as far as I'm concerned, so the more I've been talking to people, I talked to a bunch of people in voice chat today, a lot of people who are very familiar with the flat screen Spider-Man games. Unfortunately, the flat screen Spider-Man games have been during the PSVR era. So I haven't had a chance to play them. The only flat screen game that I've really played over the last 6-7 years has been Days Gone, I think.
Fortnite.
In Fortnite. It's true. It's very true.
But you can play as Spider-Man in Fortnite. Did you play Spider-Man in Fortnite? Where you actually got the web slinger?
I don't know. I only play as Isaac from Dead Space, but
there was actually Spider-Man web slinging items in it where you could swing around.
Oh yeah,
it was really good.
Oh, you mean recently the Attack on Titan stuff?
Oh no, it was before that, but it's very similar. That they've definitely got those mechanics. Mechanics inspired from when they did the Spider-Man ones. Yeah.
But anyway, but getting back to the Spidey sense stuff, right? Like, to have a vibration in the headset, to have a visual indicator to see where the attack's coming from. Also, I think that's something that you could. I feel like you could really use this well in VR as something you activate manually, right? Is like, because Spidey sense is all about. It's not about slowing down time. It's about the player getting to experience Peter Parker's fast reaction time. Right? You in order to do that, you slow down time. So I think that like to maybe have a meter or something that you could fill up and activate the Spidey senses, and that way when you are web slinging across the city, then you can and then somebody starts shooting you from a rooftop or some drone comes by and tries to take you down. Right? Between web slings, you could slow down time, let go of both, right? And then you activate your Spidey sense, slow down time, and then there's all these crazy Spider-Man powers, right? All these different types of webs that he uses, right? And it's like so you switch your weapons or whatever you want to call it. You switch your ability. You take down the drone. Time speeds back up, and then you're back to this. And you've done it all mid swing. Right, doom, 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 boom, and back. I just feel like that's a very Sirento move, right? To give the player that power trip. And I think there's so many opportunities in Spider-Man. Somebody commented at the very, very beginning of this stream how cool it would be to literally just jump off of a building as Spider-Man into a web sling, like just to get that rush, that adrenaline rush of like jumping straight off of a building and then swinging through the city. Like 100%. I absolutely agree.
Yeah, absolutely. But this goes back to why I think it couldn't be a hybrid game unless they were to redo the mechanics. There's so many upgrades in that you get in the Spider-Man flat screen games that are just like the moves would not be possible. Let's take another example. Elden Ring.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to see a VR version of that. But the roll dodging is something that just wouldn't work in VR.
There's so many workarounds.
No, I know there are workarounds, but I'm saying for something as simple as a dodge, the workaround is you have like a side step or step away.
Yeah.
You don't have to actually have your character roll, although you could probably do it. My point is with Spider-Man, it's like there's 360. The amount of spins your character does is just insane, and so I'm not saying they can't get around it, but it's like I just think compared to a game like Resident Evil and stuff, when it's all about movement. The kinetic nature of Spider-Man, I do think it would have to be its own game, especially if they were taking a first stab at it. And again, like I'm saying all this as someone who would love to just play, as someone who's got my VR legs, I would love to just play the first game in VR and give it a proper go.
Yeah.
But those slow-mo things you mentioned, They do have aspects of that in the flat screen games, but you would need it a lot more if they were going to keep a lot of the sort of flipping upside down and
See, and I agree with you. I do, like, because like, and this is sort of the problem. If they were to take a flat screen Spider-Man game and say, okay, now we're giving you a VR version of this, then it's the combat is very Batman Arkham, very Assassin's Creed, right? Very like, oh, it's the button tapping thing that like I'm personally fucking sick of, to be honest with you. But
right.
but so they'd have to strip that out completely, and then what? And then just give you complete freedom over your moves. So you get to a point, and then you're like, well, having to strip all of that out and rework the mechanics of the combat, then what are you left with? Are you left with taking all of the assets from a flat screen Spider-Man game and then building something literally from the ground up for VR with all those assets? And maybe that's the better way to go, right? I don't think I would be disappointed with a Call of the Mountain style Spider-Man game as long as I get to do all of the things that Spider-Man gets to do. We didn't even talk about how you could just literally grab onto any surface and run up the side of a building, right?
Right.
I mean, these are very cool mechanics that I just want to experience in VR properly.
The difference between Call of the Mountain and a Spider-Man like VR only game is I do think the Spider-Man VR only game could still be the whole of New York City, like that, the whole scale of it. I think that's totally doable. I mean, look, Miles Morales was based in the same map that was for the PS4 game of the original Spider-Man. I mean, it was a cross-gen game, give you that. But the point is that they've been developing it with the same map. They've tweaked it a bit here and there. It's going to be interesting to see what they do for Spider-Man 2. But yeah, I do think that even if the mechanics and like it's a different story because they have to think differently about how they do boss fights or what have you. There's no reason why it still can't take place in the entire New York City.
Yeah. I mean, I think
whereas Call of the Mountain, it's not an open world game,
right?
Right, it's just not.
I do think that Spider-Man's an even better candidate for a built from the ground up game, reusing all the same assets than Call of the Mountain was.
And I remember when they were developing it for PS5, Miles Morales and that, and this was when you started hearing about the differences between hard drives, hard disks, and SSDs. And the example that Insomniac Games gave, I think it was at the Game Developers Conference, they were saying that the file size for it on PS5 will be smaller because and developers in the chat are going to completely criticize me now because I'm going to completely butcher it with my layman's poor understanding. But it was saying along the lines of like they were talking about like trash cans in the streets, that on a hard disk you literally have to have multiple trash cans in the game, so it's preloaded because it's so slow, a hard disk. Whereas on an SSD, you only need the asset once. It's so fast at loading the asset that it can just load it again and again instantly as you're exploring the environment.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, those kind of technology advancements are going to mean that creating that open world space is going to be even more possible for a VR title. And again, just I think the Call of the Mountain and Horizon comparisons are an interesting one. Creating an open world VR game for Horizon is a lot more difficult because the environments are a lot more complicated with fauna and like all the plant life and trees. Whereas, not to say it's not complicated building New York City, but it's grids, it's buildings. Do you know what I mean? I just feel like that's probably a bit easier to achieve as a first game.
Here we get some comments and some tips here. I think somehow one of these got split up. Alhambra D Cat Allergic Game Cat ran with a $10 tip. Says Spidey VR, thumbs up. But I think Grand Theft Auto is the way to go. You can have as many races as Gran Turismo, plus planes and boats, etc. Skydiving, PvP, co-op, etc. And there's a whole underwater
skydiving.
to explore that's as big as the land map. I mean, in all fairness, yeah, if we're gonna pick a game that I want, like, I want Grand Theft, man. I want Grand Theft, and I want Grand Theft Online. Fucking let's do that shit. I agree with you.
We would love to drive around, doing drive-bys in the same car. It'd be amazing.
When I was playing D-Day, I was playing D-Day Enhanced last night, night before, whenever it was. Driving around in the Jeep. Right, one hand on the wheel, the other hand with a gun, and I was driving by, tunk tunk tunk, pop Tatum right in the fucking head. Right, I was like, finally,
that, Tatum, take that.
Finally, I get to drive with one hand and shoot with the other. Thanks for making it happen, Reg. PSVR Underground, AJ with the $5 tip says alt idea, Spider-Man VR verse, an online interactive open city hub world to explore with customizable Spidey suits for all guys and gals, co-op missions. I'm down, man. I'm down. That works for me. And I saw
procedural.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say procedural games in the chat was just following up what I said, which is good. It says, yes, Myles, this is about the trash can thing. They say it takes time to access across the PS4 disc. So they put the trash can on the disc a few times spaced out. So the disc reading is always close and able to load it, whereas an SSD doesn't need to do that. So, you and I talk about this, Bryan, so does Wes and AJ. It's not just about what is PSVR2 capable of.
Yeah.
We've still got the power of the PS5, and we're still in the early days of that cycle as well. So all these things coming together, it's been less than 100 days since PSVR2's come out.
Yeah.
I think we've got some real big surprises around the corner. I think we're going to be looking back going, you remember when we were just hoping for hybrid games, and it'll be a point where it's like, it's the norm now. You can play them in both ways.
It's funny, something we didn't even address in this conversation yet, Myles. Matthew Longo had asked, so who's making this fucking Spider-Man game?
You are, aren't you, Bryan?
Well, I think together, you and I currently are.
No.
We're in the planning stages. Without Parole Games is planning our first video game, and it's only appropriate that's the PlayStation VR2 game. I don't know how that'll work with being blacklisted by Sony, but what are you gonna fucking do, dude? But who do you think would be? Obviously, I think we go into this with the assumption that Insomniac has the most experience with the Spider-Man license up to this point.
Insomniac's massive as well,
right?
They're massive,
and they've got a VR experience. They've made plenty of VR games so far, and a lot of them have reviewed well. So are these the guys to do it?
Yeah, it's a boring answer, but it's yeah,
I think so. I think if you've got if you've got people at Insomniac that are VR proficient, and you've got these people who are proficient at making flat screen Spider-Man games, at some point, you get your chocolate and my peanut butter and your chocolate, and you fucking make some Reese's peanut butter cups, dude. And then get some bottle of milk, and we're all fucking happy for a long time. You know what I'm saying?
Win.
Win. We got Awesome Tatum in the chat. Says, well, is a third person VR Spider-Man game not in the question? So if we're sitting here, Tatum, and we're making our dream Spider-Man game, I want it in first person VR with the Sense controllers. That said, we don't really know if there's any studios out there who are like, hey, we're going to make our game playable in VR, just in third person. So you get to just look around the world as you're playing, right? Still using your DualSense controller in third person. I'm not opposed to that. That's not the game I'd be looking for first and foremost. If I was like, oh, we got a PSVR2 Spider-Man game, but I wouldn't be opposed to playing a game that way. I think that would be a lot of fun.
There's a lot of games I'd happily play in, third person, like just to be able to look behind you and stuff. Yeah.
King Roll of the James Cat says auto climbing would be needed if it was done like Call of the Mountain. I don't know if it would be. I feel like Call of the Mountain, there was no auto climbing, and you were climbing for 90% of that game. With a Spider-Man game, you'd be climbing here and there, right? But most of the time you'd be web slinging around the city, running around on the streets, fighting crime, like just shooting bad guys with your webs. I feel like, yes, when you're on a building and you're like, you'd be like, we almost there? And then you're there. Then you're like, okay, well, that was it. I had to do this for 10 seconds. I think Spidey moves pretty damn fast, so I don't think you have to worry too much about it. And then once you're on top of the building, then you just, web slinging from building top to building top, rooftop to rooftop. That's the word I was looking for. Rooftop. Substantive. Myles, substantive. Oh man,
we've learned a lot of words today, Bryan. Rooftop and substantive.
For real.
I do want to say though, before I forget, because this was something I came to this conversation with in mind from the get-go, is I do think Insomniac are going to have a go at this VR stuff again. And for me, it's like out of the Marvel properties, the one that I'm just like, it's more likely because it just seems a better fit.
Yeah,
is Wolverine VR, and that's just an obvious point. I think we've spoken about many times before. Having your two hands with the I'm going to say the blades coming out. I know they've got different words, but like just running around, and also it seems it's going to be a much more contained world as well. That is a game that I could actually imagine, especially because it's not going to be probably coming out until next year. That's a game that could actually be a hybrid game. Which would be phenomenal. Agreed.
Corey Massey in the chat's been giving me shit for the last half hour, being like, dude, you gotta fucking play the flat screen Spider-Man games to understand why people are No, I don't. Absolutely don't have to fucking do that. What you have to understand...
But you should play them just generally.
Dude, I definitely want to play them. Everyone fucking loves them. And I wish I had time to play flat screen games. But no, it's like, what you have to understand is that there are workarounds for every single problem, right? If you just want to throw a game into VR and not put any work into it, sure, there's going to be problems. But if you can rework combat systems, like, and again, this is not an easy thing, but everything's doable. If you're saying you don't want to put any work into it, then sure, I understand the problem. But if you want to put work into it and make it an awesome VR experience, there's workarounds for everything.
Amen.
Yeah, I have gone blurry. I don't know what's up with the camera. Very strange.
Good. By the way, a lot of GameCats probably can't see it because I know the games casting is. But if you hadn't already, Spider-Man, Peter Parker's just there, and I think that is actually based on the Sony PlayStation one. Oh, the original Spider-Man is such a brilliant game. I mean, Miles Morales was amazing as well, but just the story, and it takes some twists and turns that really do take your breath away. So can't wait to hear your thoughts on it. But talking about like not having time to play flat screen games, Bryan, I still have God of War Ragnarok in my PS5 disc drive, and it's not been touched for like 6 weeks at least. I'm like 10 hours in. I was enjoying it, and Callisto Protocol I still had as well. But yeah, that's just the world we live in. We have so many VR titles to play.
Yeah, oh, dude. So much good stuff to play. It's funny that that Village review had been kind of just like, dude, I just kind of knew that it had to get done. And now that it's done, I'm sort of like, well, what do I do next? Right? Like we've got our knock keys, and we'll be playing that for sure. I'm going to get in there and learn how to play knock. But, and so, obviously a review for that will be coming up next week. Hello Neighbor is happening next week, Search and Rescue.
Oh,
and so
can't wait to jump into that.
Right, I'm excited for that. And so, and so there's a lot of there's stuff on the way, but now that the Village review is done, I'm looking at the launch lineup and going, man, what's the next one to tackle during these momentary downtimes? And I keep thinking of the Light Brigade, Kayak VR, Demio, right? Like
Kayak VR, yeah, man,
yeah. Like these are I think important games. And so what did I do today? I played What the Bat.
Dude, so this is the thing is, I know I get mocked for like everyone in the Discord always goes like, I think they were winding up AJ going, oh yeah, Myles says don't sleep on What the Bat. I've always said I know it's not going to be for some people, but for me, it's the first game I put people into when they've not really experienced VR before. It's such a great introduction game. It's so intuitive. The feeling of just hitting it and like the trajectory you get on the ball is really good. I actually think What the Bat's awesome. The biggest flaw is it doesn't have a platinum trophy, but I'll leave it there.
Yeah. I don't know. I played, I think the first half hour of it or so. I'm about a third of the way through the game. Maybe not a third, 25%, something like that. And it's okay. It's okay. It's very inventive. I just found myself bored, and so which is why I didn't push forward, because I was like, well, maybe I just need to be in a more fun mood to be playing this. So I want to make sure that you never want your own mood to affect a game. And I thought I was in a fine mood, but I kept looking at it going, I just feel kind of bored. Like I'm not super interested in pushing forward. The only reason I'm pushing forward is to finish the game so I can do a review. Right. So I'll get back to it. I decided to shelve it for a minute.
I have to say there are many levels on there, or like levels within the stages, or stages within the levels that feel like filler. I do like it that some of them are like, oh wow, this wasn't even a level, this was just a joke. Mm-hmm. So there's like example, it happens on the tutorial, spoilers, but there's a bit where you're constantly hitting the baseball with the bat, and you've got to hit the aim of the game is always to hit the trophy. And there's one bit where you do it and you don't hit the ball. The bat comes out your hand and you throw it at the trophy instead. And whenever I've seen people play it, it surprises everyone. Everyone's like, oh, how did I drop it? And then they realize it was a part of the gag. There's some real amazing moments throughout the game where it's like, okay, that wasn't actually a level for a challenge. That was like a gag. And I really like that stuff. But there was just some that just didn't really do it for me. But there were some really inventive things in there as well. So it's definitely a mix.
Yeah. I like the creativity. And I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Chrome Colossus in the chat was a $2 tip. I think picking up on the Corey Massey conversation says, were Sirento flat, it would also be impossible in VR. Yeah. That's the thing. Yeah, I'm not again, very, very clearly not saying that. Even games like Days Gone, right? Like, so here's a flat screen game that I played the crap out of. And I'm like, man, like I would love this in VR, but constantly think about how all these systems would have to be reworked in order for it to be, in order for it to work properly. And that's a game where you don't leave the ground, right? That's a game that you just ride around on your motorcycle a lot. And so, so no, trust me, I completely understand that. Like, I might be oversimplifying things when I say, oh, it just has to be reworked for VR. A massive amount of work to make it right, to the point where you say, is it worth making this a hybrid game, or do we just, fundamentally change the combat and now we're making a built from the ground up for VR game? And that's something that each studio has to just fucking decide on their own, or Sony has to decide, like, where do you spend the money, right? And so this is a conversation I was having with Dan, the top developer, recently, and I was like, how much money do you think it costs to make Call of the Mountain? I think he just a rough estimate off the top of his head, he guessed 15 million, right?
Right.
Now, would you rather, Myles, that $15 million be spent making Call of the Mountain, giving us an exclusive, built from the ground up PSVR2 title, or would you rather have that $15 million be spent making Horizon Zero Dawn playable in VR and reworking all those mechanics? Which one ends with the gamer being happier? I think we all know the answer to that. A massive amount of work, a massive amount of money, but you end up with one game or the other. Which would you choose?
Well, it's also the optics, isn't it? Of if you're creating a new game, it's been judged as the game it is.
Right.
If you do a hybrid port, the main reviews are going to be, oh, it wasn't as good as the flat screen, or do you know what I mean? It's like already you're kneecapping yourself with the comparison. So I also know with the optics there as well. But yeah, like just you saying that, like Firesprite working on this, I was thinking earlier when you were mentioning it about PSVR games that still haven't had ports over. The persistence. Mm-hmm. Come on, bring that to PSVR2. That would be a great announcement for the showcase, wouldn't it, Bryan?
Yeah, absolutely, man. So many games trapped on PSVR 1 at the moment, and I don't expect them to be trapped for much longer. I do expect that we get some kind of announcement for these things relatively soon. Yeah. So, all right, dude. We gotta play some 20 questions, and then we gotta get out of here.
Let's do it.
Is it my turn for 20 questions? It
is your turn, Bryan.
I even have a game picked out and everything. There it is. Cool. All right. If If you guys don't know
Right.
how this works,
You got to help me. That's how it works.
yeah, you guys in the chat have
Everyone in
to
the
help him.
chat's got to help me.
We got 6 minutes putting it up on the clock right now. You only get 20 yes or no questions. Figure out what PlayStation 1 or PSVR2 game this is. Help them out, guys. On your mark. Get Des. Go.
Is this game on PSVR2?
No.
No, okay. Does it have a multiplayer?
No. You're off to a good start, Myles.
Interesting. Off to a good start. So it's PSVR only, no multiplayer. Is it a story? Is the game based around a story? Is there a story being told?
It's not story driven. There is a narrative being delivered as you play.
Is there shooting? Is shooting a predominant mechanic?
No.
Is it horror?
No. That's 5.
Is it a puzzle game?
Yes.
Cool. So we got a PSVR puzzle game with no multiplayer. Just can't wait for Puzzling Places to get co-op. That's gonna be amazing. Let's think here. Is there full locomotion?
No.
Does it just use the DualShock controller?
No, not according to the PlayStation store page. Let me just say this. I don't. No, forget it. I won't say anything. I won't say anything. Keep going.
Is music quite a prominent aspect of this?
No.
Okay. Right. So just a recap to everyone in the chat. There is a narrative, but it's not story driven. No multiplayer. It's a PSVR only puzzle game with not full locomotion, not just the DualShock controller according to the website, and it's not much to do with music, which was ruling out things I was thinking about like Tetris Effect and things like that. Which actually is on PS5 anyway, PSVR 2. Does it have a cartoonish aesthetic?
Yeah, I mean, I would say so, yeah.
Yeah.
That's 10.
I'm wondering if it is oh man, what was the game? It began, was it with E or something? Oh man. It was the one where you had like the wall and you like constantly having to move stuff across it, like a labyrinth and stuff. Oh man, I can't think of what it was called. I have a feeling it's a game with words like punch it and cuts. But didn't that have full locomotion in it? I never played it.
Budget Cuts was teleportation only.
Okay. Oh man, this is so difficult. It's not going to be Boxed In because Boxed In had full locomotion.
Mm-hmm.
And you could use all the controllers, including the aim controller, which is what it was best for. Is it a game where you have things moving towards you? Like, are you stationary and you haven't got things moving towards you?
Things are not moving towards you.
No. Is it based on a known IP?
No.
And have these developers made other PSVR games?
Yes.
Like multiple. They have made multiple.
They've made multiple PSVR games. Yes.
Is it escape room style?
Yeah, maybe you might throw it into the escape room category.
Okay. So it's not going to be. I expect you to.
Definitely puzzles. You're depending on your classification of escape room.
Right. Sure.
Right.
It's not going to be static, I don't think, because that's just dual shock. Yeah. I expect you to die. I don't think it is. Would you regard it as a good game?
I enjoyed my time with it. Would not end up on a top 25. It's never been on a top 25. It's never even been in debate for top 25. That's 15.
I'm trying to think what this game was called that I'm trying to think of, and it's where you're in the room and there's you're trying to get out and you get
it's like an office, right? There's like cubicles and stuff, and maybe a Rubik's Cube.
No, I'm not thinking of that one.
Oh, then you're thinking of the wrong one. You've only got 9 seconds, buddy. I'm trying to help you out.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, is it Job Simulator?
It is not Job Simulator. It is in fact by CodeSync. Esper.
Esper was what I was trying to think of.
Yeah.
Oh, it did have that.
You start with the goddamn Rubik's Cube. Like, that was the very first puzzle. I don't understand.
Was it? Oh, man. Because I even said earlier it begins with E, and I was like, that was the one I was thinking of, but I totally remember the Rubik's Cube now.
Yep.
Oh, man.
I'll tell you, I was scared. I was scared you were going to ask me if it was part of a series or if it had any sequels and stuff, because there is an Esper 2. But it never came to PSVR, so I'm kind of hoping we get an Esper collection or something on PSVR 2. This game's I very short lived. I think you can beat this game in like 2 hours, something like that. Maybe not.
I had a good time with it. Yeah, I had a good time with it, and it was good trophies as well.
It's all about having psychic powers. It's good stuff.
That was it. That was it. Oh man, that's what I was. And I was going to search it, but I know the rules are we can't look up and that, so I did avoid that. But that is the game I was looking.
Yeah, no one got it till the very, very end. I think it was the Once and Future VR King, I think, was the first one to say it. And I didn't scroll up enough. Because
I was thinking of the puzzles I was trying to describe was where you got the wall and you got to like move things across and like go down the labyrinth because you got like gravity stuff.
You were describing it really early and you were like, oh, it's a game that begins with E. And I was like, he's got it at like the 6th question. I was like, this is crazy. And then, it just kind of,
I think now I'm the only person that's got a wrong guess, and I've now done it twice in the last 2 months.
No, whatever.
So, I feel less bad about it now. It's like the sting goes away after the first time it happens. So I'm actually happy just to get wrong guesses every time now. So Bryan, I have to say this is definitely the best GamesCast Live I've been a part of so far. So,
yeah.
No. We were so close, but I didn't get that. So yeah.
Okay. Real quick, what Simply Mincy with the $5 tip says, love you, but disagree with your Spider-Man take. The game is a lot more than web slinging. ... Okay, never mind. As I'm typing, you clarified it. Take my money anyway. Thank you, Simply Mincy. I wasn't trying to like be a dick. I was just trying to say, I think a lot of games have, maybe aren't immediately like this is going to be great for VR, but I think with some work, most games can be. Corey Massey says, sorry to be the person to crap on everyone's stream, but some games don't work well in VR. We can agree to disagree, Corey. I love you and appreciate your perspective. But I'm eternally the optimist who says somebody out there can make this happen and somebody out there can make this great. That's always going to be my take until the day I die. So I apologize for my eternal optimism. Guys, thank you everybody for hanging out today. This was a lot of fun talking about a game that doesn't even exist, talking about how it could work potentially or how it might not work potentially. Don't forget to go subscribe to Myles over at youtube.com/Myles. You're going to be playing some, you said Walkabout this Saturday, is that right? No,
it's
Red Matter.
Red Matter 2. Yeah, 2. But Walkabout was last Sunday. Right. And I mean, honestly, of course, I'm always going to promote my stuff. But if any of you are sort of new to my channel, The last 2 live streams I've done, highly recommend. Ash Millman was a phenomenal guest on Miles Dyer Live. Talked about horror. There's a really cool horror quiz we do at the end that she loved, where I played 12 screams from monsters or people from horror movies, and she had to guess like what the screams were from. And it's one of those things that when you put it together, you're like, that one's way too obvious. But then when people are doing it without any context, it's a lot harder. And yeah, the Walkabout dev interview went really, really well. And there are timestamps on it, so you can check it out. And there's just a lot of really interesting info about Walkabout mini golf. I asked about some features that I'd love to see, about having a second hand. Their reason for so you could wave to people and high five. They say the reason you don't have a second hand is that it then promotes more people holding the golf club with 2 hands, in which case you get tracking issues. But the feature that I mentioned that he did go about was having sort of team games. So you could do it like pass the baton, or you all play together and then you sort of take a total of scores. That's something they found interesting. And in terms of how much content they've got, they've just said, like, as long as the community keeps supporting us, we'll keep making maps.
Yep.
They said they currently have enough levels planned all the way up to 2025. Nice. They said obviously they've not got them made yet. They take a long time to make. Yeah. But also it's the reason they don't announce stuff until a couple of days before, because they pride themselves in being a company that's not about crunch. So they've got a really good culture and they just feel good and they're really happy about the community. And yeah, I just Walkabout Golf is just such a wonderful game in so many ways.
Well, thank you, Miles. I appreciate you spending some time with me today. As always, every single Friday, I'll always look forward to it.
Yes, same.
Sci-Fi Game Cat Henry, who's in the chat, says 5 days to showcase. Cannot wait. Also, shout out to Sci-Fi Game Cat Henry, who puts timestamps into the show after the fact every single fucking time. Also, shout out to J-Man, who gets us up on podcast services of your choice. Not every single fucking time. We're going to get on his ass if the last few haven't been uploaded. We'll see how that's going. Also, shout out to all my mods who take care of shit, not just here, but over on Discord, where they work tirelessly and thanklessly, I promise you, to make my life better each and every single day. Thank you to all the cats who support me financially over on patreon.com/withoutparole over here, where they become members, in the chat where they tip. Everyone who hangs out during the show, shoots the shit, talks about stuff that is not related whatsoever to the things that we're talking about during the show. And of course, everyone who hangs out, watches the show, and doesn't say a goddamn word. We know you're out there, and we love you just as much. Happy Friday, Miles.
Happy Friday, Brian. Happy Friday, Game Cats. Have a wonderful weekend, and hopefully see you on Sunday for the multiplayer on the battlefield. 64 of us.
64. D-Day Enhanced Beta. Let's go. Woo. Miles, I know you've got a clip of the week for us. I know you do, and I'll let you set it up in just a second. But I got to call out Elvert, one of our newest moderators.
I love this.
Who has decided to take this out of your hands and say, clip of the week is no longer Miles' responsibility. And
I love this.
And now we have a clip of the week channel over on Discord where you can upload your amazing video of what maybe something that happened in a game or some crazy shit that you're thinking about. I don't know. Clip of the week. We give you a place to upload it on YouTube. Its own. On Discord. Its own specific channel, and that way Miles doesn't have to frantically find a clip last second before every Friday show. How does that sound to you?
I love it. I mean, this is something I've been asking for a few times before, and the fact that Elvert's done it. Love him for it, and I know we've got an amazing community with, the thing about clips of the week is they're not planned, obviously, and fortunately I was in a position where I'm playing hours and hours and there is these weird moments, but the fact is we've got an amazing community, and I just know that if we all have those funny moments and you quickly click the share button on your controller, on your Sense controller, and then just say, save the last minute, then on the phone app, you can go to your captured footage and you can download the file onto your phone, and then you can just send it to your computer. That can be an easy way, or email it to yourself, or through the Discord app, upload it. That is the quickest way of doing it. So it's never been easier to get clips from those magical moments in VR. And I just can't wait to see everyone's amazing experiences in PSVR2.
I'm sorry, I wasn't listening.
It's all right. It wasn't important.
Did you have a clip of the week?
I do, Brian.
All right, let's hear it.
Another walkabout mini golf, and it is just a clip from the interview with Edward.
Oh, cool.
From Mighty Coconut.
Let's check this shit out. Let's go.
Having not done...
Fun fact about that skull ball.
Yeah?
The texture, the image, is my skull. I got an MRI a while ago, took the 3D data of the skull, and projected it onto the ball for the texture.
So you're telling me
knocking around my head
I am bashing in at Edward's skull on this course of mindfulness.
That's gonna be really satisfying. If I start to win, you can be like, this guy.
I'll be hitting it. Right, here we go. Let's hope your skull serves me well.
Dude, that clip would have been way better if you did a hole-in-one at the end of it.
Dude, I did get it in. It cut out just before it bounced in. But yeah, I did. It was an amazing hole-in-one. So yeah, don't worry about it. Yeah, dude, it went in. It was amazing.
We've never played Walkabout together, have we?
I know. I'm really gutted. We will do soon. I really want to.
Yeah.
You've been telling about Walkabout mini golf for so many months, and it's finally out. And we'll make it happen.
Nice. I can't wait. I would say let's play this weekend, but we got some knock to play. We got to learn how to play knock, and then we got to tell everybody how great it is, or
if they've updated it. If they've updated it for me in the UK now, I'm up for jumping on it now for a bit.
Cool. Oh, now? Okay. Well, yeah, I guess I could do that. Well, yeah, we'll check it out. Also, shout out to No Code NH. I'm assuming it's No Code New Hampshire with the 22 rupees. Maybe it's not New Hampshire if it's rupee. If he's paying us in rupees, maybe it's No Code Hyrulean substantive. Thank you very much, guys. We love you so much. Appreciate everybody hanging out and watching, and of course, paying for pizza tonight. Y'all have a great night, great weekend. We'll see you Monday, and don't forget, 5 days till the showcase. It's gonna be fucking awesome.